Number 15. The Boulder and the Car. During the late August of 2013, the area surrounding Kelong City in Taiwan experienced heavy rain, which caused mudslides around the city and disrupting transportation. Dashcam footage captured a very lucky motorist as it made its way along the road towards one of the mountain faces overlooking Kelong City. At one point in the footage, viewers can see a large boulder begin to tumble down before the street, causing a river of mud and rocks to flow down ahead of it. Suddenly, the white car in front of the dashcam is almost completely covered in mud as it's rocked to the side. Horrifyingly, the large boulder appears beside the car, rocking slightly towards it before coming to a complete stop, mere inches away from flattening the car and its occupants. Considering how disastrous the situation could have been, the driver and passenger were able to walk away with only minor injuries, a far cry from the fate they nearly suffered. Number 14. The Double Lotto. Australian Bill Morgan was a middle-aged truck driver living in Cranbourne, living a modest life with his girlfriend. However, his life soon met near tragedy when he went into cardiac arrest and his heart stopped beating for 14.5 minutes, after which he slipped into a coma. Doctors and family nearly had his life support cut off, but changed their minds at the last minute and instead had him transferred to another hospital. After 12 days, Morgan awoke and appeared to suffer no ill effects from the heart attack or the coma. He began to change his life after the near-death experience, firstly by proposing to his girlfriend, Lisa, and then deciding on a whim to buy a scratch ticket. This decision led him to winning a $27,000 car. Local news heard about the story and decided to cover a piece on the man's good fortune. As part of the segment, they asked Morgan to reenact the purchase of the ticket and the win. Morgan purchased a new ticket, and as the crew filmed him placing the final scratches, a stunned Morgan turned around and revealed he had just won $250,000.
I just won $250,000. I'm not joking.
You're not, are you? Really?
I just won $250,000.
Overcome with emotion, he tearfully phoned his fiancée to tell her the good news, as onlookers congratulated him. Morgan even joked, "I might have had another heart attack." Morgan used the money on a down payment of a new home for him and his wife-to-be, and continues to purchase scratches today. Number 13. Urals Meteor. Residents living in and around Chelyabinsk, Russia, were stunned when a bright object lit up the sky as it plummeted to the ground and disintegrated the Earth's atmosphere on February 15, 2013. The meteor, measured at somewhere between 12,000 and 13,000 metric tons, was so vast it was spotted in 6 separate regions of Russia and 2 provinces in neighboring Kazakhstan, and illuminated a light comparable with that of the sun's for over 100 kilometers. The largest unbroken piece of the meteor crashed into Lake Chapakal, which caused a wide hole through the ice and leaving over 53 pieces of meteorite beneath and around the lake's surface. Luckily for the World Wide Web, many Russian motorists house dashcams in their vehicles, allowing multiple perspectives on the spectacular event. All footage shows a blinding green light followed by a massive cloud tail forming behind the meteor. As well as the dashcams, surveillance footages from various businesses and establishments show the destructive effects of the airburst's shockwave, which blew out windows and even caused a zinc factory warehouse to collapse. In total, 1,491 people were injured, including 180 causes of eye pain and 70 people suffering temporary blindness. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured in the event. Pieces of the meteorite were collected and included in the gold medals given out on the 1-year anniversary of the event during the 2014 Sochi Olympics, and 10 gold medalists received the commemorative medals. Number 12. Failed assassination? Ahmed Dogan is the founder of the Bulgarian centre-left party, Movement for Rights and Freedoms. On January 19, 2013, Dogan was addressing supporters at a convention when a man leapt on stage and drew a gun, pointing it at Dogan's head. Fortunately, the gun failed to fire, and the man was quickly subdued by audience members and security detail. Footage of the event shows the shocked reaction of onlookers, who roar in anger and shock at what has just unfolded, and people beating the assailant before he is whisked away into custody. Investigators later reported the gun was a gas pistol filled with blanks, and had it gone off, it would have inflicted non-life-threatening injuries to Dogan. The attacker was revealed to be a Turkish-Bulgarian man, Okene Mamedov, who said his reasons for the attack was in protest of Dogan's and his party's ideology, which Mamedov claimed went against Bulgarian principle and was a threat to the nation's well-being. It's widely speculated Mamedov had no intent of killing Dogan, only wishing to wound him to weaken his political ability. The following year, Mamedov received a 3-year prison sentence for his actions. Number 11. 1989 World Series. Fans gathered in droves to San Francisco's Candlestick Park on October 17, 1989, to witness Game 3 of the World Series baseball game between the Oakland Athletics and San Francisco Giants, the first crosstown World Series since 1956. Things were beginning to get underway, and ABC was showing highlights from the previous game, when suddenly the live feed began to glitch, and announcer Al Michaels stated,
"I'll tell you what, we're having an earth..."
before the feed temporarily cut out completely. While video did not return, audio did, and the announcers began to compose themselves, even joking the circumstance as the greatest opening in the history of television. What was witnessed was the Loma Prieta earthquake, a Category 9 or violent on the Massali intensity scale, or magnitude 6.9. While lasting only between 8 and 15 seconds, the damage was somewhere around $5.6 to $6 billion, with 63 killed and 3,757 injured. On a positive note, rush hour traffic was much lighter than average because of the amount of spectators at Candlestick Park and people staying at home to watch the game, resulting in fewer casualties on the collapsed Bay Bridge and freeway system of the Bay Area. Number 10. Boston Thundersnow. During the winter of 2014-15, parts of the United States and Canada experienced extremely cold temperatures and high snowfall. Between February 14th and 15th of 2015, Boston received 12 inches of snow, and other regions around Massachusetts reported up to 22 inches of snowfall, causing dangerous road conditions and traffic accidents. On February 15th, the Weather Channel uploaded a video showing behind the scenes of reporter Jim Cantor and his crew capturing thundersnow on tape, a rare phenomenon where thunderstrikes occur during snowfall. Thundersnow more often occurs over the Great Lakes region of the US and Canada during events known as snow squalls, and cold air passes over water warmer than the air temperature. It's rare thundersnow occurs outside lake regions of the world, but it's not impossible. The video shows Cantor's excitement of the event taking place, celebrating not one, not two, but a total of 6 the camera managed to capture. The video quickly gathered popularity, and as of the uploading of this top 15 list, it's seen almost 4.2 million views, as well as an auto-tune remix by well-known channel Shmo Yoho. Number 9. Miracle on the Hudson. On January 15, 2009, US Airways Flight 1549 set off from LaGuardia Airport in New York City, bound for a stopover in Charlotte, North Carolina, before reaching Seattle. However, a major problem occurred after takeoff when the Airbus A320 struck a pack of birds, causing both engines to stall. Air traffic control immediately stopped all flights in and out of LaGuardia, and the crew of 1549 steered back towards the airport to make an emergency landing. Unfortunately, the plane was losing altitude too quickly, and it looked as if the plane would not reach the tarmac. Captain Chelsea "Sully" Sullenberger made the decision to land the plane in the Hudson River, knowing any attempts to land on the ground could ignite the gallons of unburned fuel and kill everyone on board. Sully carefully glided the plane as close to boats operating in the river as safely possible, then bringing the plane down in the north section of the river. He then gave an evacuation order once the plane had reached a full stop, and all 155 persons on board escaped, 97 with minor injuries and 5 serious. The dramatic landing was captured on a surveillance camera, showing the amazing feat take place. Sully was praised by passengers and fellow crew, and he was declared a hero by the general public. For his bravery, Sully was invited to Barack Obama's inauguration ceremony and was the honored guest at Super Bowl 43. Number 8. Harrison Okene. In May 2013, a tugboat named the Jaskin 4 capsized off the coast of Nigeria, and the entire 12-man crew sunk down with it. After 3 days of attempts, divers finally managed to find and reach the wreckage in the murky waters, though any chance of finding the survivors were believed slim to none. Footage from a diver's helmet cam captures the moment when the diver reaches an air pocket in the boat. Looking up, he sees a hand floating around in the water. Thinking it was a body, the diver reaches up and touches it, only for the hand to grip the diver's hand, startling everyone in the search operation. After the diver surfaces in the air pocket, he sees Harrison Okene, a 29-year-old cook, miraculously still alive and in shock. Okene had survived 3 days, 100 meters below the surface, without food and only a can of Coke for hydration. Okene was successfully brought back to the surface and became a sensation across Nigeria. Okene's fame hit a new level when footage was released in December 2013 of the moment he was discovered, quickly going viral globally. Okene says he continues to suffer nightmares from the accident, and a local pastor even asked him if he used black magic to survive his ordeal. Vowing never to return to the sea, Okene remains alive and well, living with his wife, and continues working as a cook, this time on solid ground. Number 7. Prisoners save guard. Prison can be a place filled with tension and uncertainty, which is something Deputy Ken Moon found out during one of his shifts. Moon was on guard duty in Orient Road Jail in Florida when, without warning, inmate Douglas Burden charged at him and got him in a chokehold. CCTV footage recorded the entire scene, and it almost looked as if the situation was about to get worse when other inmates rushed towards the fight. However, the tables turned when the first inmate to reach the scene, Jerry Diguez Jr., unleashed a powerful punch to Burden's face, knocking all 3 men to the ground. Other inmates then proceeded to pull Burden off Moon, while another called emergency over Moon's radio. Burden became overpowered and restrained on the floor by inmates, as Moon was attended to by another inmate, who helped him to his feet. The inmates involved in Moon's rescue had charges ranging from marijuana possession to aggravated assault, but on this day appeared to redeem themselves by saving Moon's life. Senior guard Jim Previtera revealed at a press conference upon asking the inmates why they stepped in to help Moon. They all replied, "Moon's a good guy." Burden was placed in solitary confinement after the attack, and Moon was taken to hospital for treatment of minor injuries. This video goes to show how even people society would label as unwanted are worthy of redemption. Number 6. Joplin Tornado. On May 22, 2011, a powerful F5 tornado touched down in Joplin, Missouri, and caused extensive chaos for over 40 minutes before finally dissipating back into the sky. Within the short time it was on the ground, 158 people were killed and 1,150 others were injured, with a total of $2.8 billion in damages. It is recorded as the deadliest tornado in the United States since 1947, and the 7th deadliest overall, as well as the most costly tornado in American history. Security cameras at East Middle School captured the full intensity of the tornado's wrath as it entered close proximity to the building. The destruction being inflicted reflects the aftermath of a bomb exploding, with debris and furniture tossed around. The exterior shots of the school show how little mercy this force of nature has, and really puts into perspective just how devastating the storm was. At one point, nearly the entire vision is obscured by water and debris, leaving only the front concrete and the support pillar visible. Interestingly, Joplin is located only a few hundred miles west from where the US's deadliest tornado occurred, the Tri-State Tornado, in 1925, which killed almost 700 people. Number 5. Phoenix helicopter collision. On July 27, 2007, news helicopters from various news stations were following a police pursuit of a suspect driving a work truck around Phoenix, Arizona. Choppers from ABC's KNXV-TV and Channel 3's KTVK were filming the suspect exiting his original vehicle and entering another, when both choppers collided mid-air on live TV.
Oh, jeez.
We're going to pull out. We don't know what has just happened right there.
Skyfox 10 reporter pilot Don Hooper radioed into his station, stating he had just witnessed the 2 choppers crash into each other and plummet to the ground. Hooper's voice is shaken as he then radios to Sky Harbor Airport to report the crash in an attempt to get an emergency crew to the impact sites. Various angles of the aftermath were shown live due to the high traffic of news helicopters in the area at the time, and footage from Hooper's cameras show the collision and ground impact of both helicopters. Sadly, the 2-man crews of the helicopters perished when the helicopters hit the ground. Number 4. Lake Peiguneur mining disaster. On November 20th, 1980, on Lake Peiguneur, Louisiana, an oil rig belonging to Texaco made a major miscalculation when it accidentally drilled into a salt mine belonging to the Diamond Crystal Salt Company, causing the drill to jam. The rig was evacuated as people attempted to find a solution to the issue. 90 minutes after the rig jammed, a vortex formed and sucked the rig down into the hole, along with many gallons of water rushing down into the mine. 55 employees were in the salt mine at the time and quickly began an evacuation process once water started flowing and flooding the caverns. Suddenly, the entire lake was now emptying into the mine, much like an unplugged bathtub, sending everything in its path down with it. Video footage of the scene showed trees and 11 barges and a tugboat were sent down through the hole. The suction was so great, the nearby canal flowing towards the Gulf of Mexico reversed flow back into the lake and temporarily formed a 164-foot waterfall. After 2 days, the water finally equalized in the salt mine and the flow stopped. A total of 65 acres were washed away, and the lake went from being a shallow lake into a deep lake, changing the type of fish living there. The intake from the reverse flow also brought in salt water, which many mistook to be a result of the excess amount of salt left in the mine. Despite the destruction to the surrounding area, all 55 miners escaped, and no one was injured or killed in the incident thanks to well-rehearsed evacuation proceedings. Number 3. American Airlines Flight 11. It seemed like a typical late summer's day on September the 11th, 2001. It was about 8:15 in the morning, and residents of New York City were just beginning their day, either off to work, school, or tourists getting a fresh start to explore the extravagant city. Two filmmakers, brothers Jules and Thomas Naudet, were in the process of filming a documentary about the New York City Fire Department when they captured something that is embedded on people's minds across the world. Jules rode along with the firefighters after they received a call of a possible gas leak. As fire personnel were inspecting the site for gas, the loud roar of a low-flying jet caused Jules and the crew to stop briefly and look overhead. Jules turned his camera around just in the nick of time to film Flight 11 crash into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Stunned, Jules and the firefighters began expressing their shock over what they just witnessed, before packing up and making their way towards what was ground zero for the September 11th attacks. A long day in American history as time seemed to stop and the world focused their sights on New York and later Washington, D.C. Often overlooked is a second piece of video from WNYW-TV News rolling as Flight 11 hit the building. The plane is not visible in the footage, though the sound of the jet and the crash is captured on audio, along with the smoke bellowing up into the skyline post-impact. By the end of the day, 2,977 people died, including 1,366 in the North Tower and all 92 passengers on Flight 11. Number 2. The Suicidal Sisters. Police in Staffordshire, England, arrived at what appeared to be a routine stop on the M6 motorway on May 17, 2008, after two women were struck by vehicles attempting to cross through traffic on foot. Little did anyone on scene realise the day was not going to go over as routine as originally expected. Without warning, one of the sisters ran back out onto the motorway and was struck by a semi-truck, which fractured the bones to her pelvis and legs. Seconds later, the second sister bolted out onto the road and was struck by a car, throwing her to the ground and knocking her unconscious. A film crew producing the show Motorway Cops were also on the scene and captured the entire event on film. Despite the seriousness of her injuries, the woman struck by the truck continued to aggressively resist all attempts of treatment, shouting profanity and claiming the officers were not real. The second sister suddenly awoke and stood up. As a female officer attempted to restrain her, she struck a punch into the officer's face and ran onto the other side of the carriageway, again almost being struck by cars. Thankfully, the officers were quick to react and immediately stopped traffic, then restrained her with the help of onlookers. She continued to shout abnormal remarks, including pleading for help and for people to call the police. Finally, both sisters were restrained and brought to a nearby hospital. While originally thought to be under the influence of drugs, it was later discovered mental illness was the cause of their bizarre antics. The sister, who was not seriously injured, later murdered 54-year-old Glenn Hollinshead in an unprovoked attack for which she was charged, but sentenced only to 5 years on manslaughter charges due to diminished capacity. Number 1. Skydiving Mishap. In late 2013, 9 skydivers and 2 pilots lifted off over Superior, Wisconsin for a day of adrenaline and adventure. None of them expected just how much adrenaline they would receive. As both planes prepared to jump, one plane descended rapidly towards the other, and the two collided at 12,000 feet above the airport. The second plane's left wing ripped off, and a fireball nearly engulfed the first. Several jumpers were out the door ready to go when the incident occurred, momentarily wedging them between the two crafts, and several from the second plane being knocked off and sent into freefall. 5 of the jumpers were wearing GoPro cameras and captured the entire event unfold from both planes. Despite the seriousness of the situation, all 9 skydivers and both pilots survived and safely made it back to Earth without suffering serious injury. In fact, the first plane managed to land safely back at the airport as emergency vehicles arrived. In an interview on NBC, all 9 skydivers talked about how lucky they feel no one was seriously hurt, and all admitted they would gladly skydive once again. One jokingly remarking, "I'm more afraid of spiders."
Got an idea for a top 15 list? Submit it at top15s.net/submit. Be sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching.